This is Sports Chat with Nat. My name is Natalie W. Baker. And ladies and gentlemen, I promised you another interview. And I asked for it during the playoff games. Y'all heard? I asked for it, and a Greyhound came through, and we have a special guest today. Yay! Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Josh Vaughan. Yay! He's a former NFL player, ladies and gentlemen. Now, he played for a few teams, and I'm going to name those teams right now. I have Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jacksonville Jaguars, Carolina Panthers, Indianapolis Colts, Buffalo Bills, Carolina Panthers again, and Atlanta Falcons. Did I get that right?
You got it right.
All right. Now, of all those teams, I want to ask you which one did you like the best, but I don't want to really start with that question. I want to start with another question that I've been dying to ask you, which is my first question to you. When did you know you wanted to be a part of the NFL?
I would probably say since I was a kid. My dad has this cool picture, or actually my mom has this cool picture of me holding this football when I was a baby. And ever since I can remember, we were watching, well, back then, Washington Redskins, now Washington Commanders football games. So I grew up a big Washington fan. And, every time sports were on, whether that was college football, pro football, I was watching. My dad and I used to go to every top high school football game on Friday nights. So even in other sports too, but we always were excited about football season. And then, of course, as I got older, I played all sports, but I recognized where my size, I wasn't going to be tall enough and athletic enough to play basketball, and I couldn't hit a curveball. So I got to middle school, so I just gravitated more towards football because I knew that was where I had the best shot based on all my sports, and also because that was a sport I liked the most. So just made my way through, and by the grace of God, I was able to achieve that goal.
Now, I'm glad you started with since you were a kid, because my very next question is, now I see you went to Hermitage High School, correct? In Richmond?
I did.
Yes. Now, as I said, I met your uncle at IC Norcom High School. Woo woo! State champions multiple times in basketball, track and field. What did your high school do to prepare you for the pros, if anything?
I think the biggest lesson I learned in high school was one, competition. So I went to Hermitage, started my sophomore year. I was in private school my 9th grade year. And one of the reasons my dad made the switch for me to go to public school was because he wanted me to embrace being challenged and embrace having to stack my skills up against the best. And at that time, Hermitage was one of the top programs in the area. Yes. And so he moved me to go to Hermitage. And so I think that was the first thing. And then I think the second thing was teaching me how to overcome adversity, because I didn't start as a running back only a couple of games my junior year. And then my senior year, I got switched to a different position. I played kind of like a slot H-back, fullback type of position, and linebacker. But the first 2 years, my sophomore and junior year, I really didn't play a whole lot. So I had to learn how to make an imprint on the game whenever I got an opportunity to play, and how to train and to become the best player I could be, even though, I didn't get the most opportunities. So I think those are the two biggest lessons I learned: embrace competition and to embrace adversity, and learn how to make something happen even when everything's not going your way.
You know what? See, that's why I let the Spirit lead me, because that leads me right into this question. I noticed that you played on special teams at times. And being an avid football fan, I know that special teams, boom, bam, you got to go right then. You got to be ready right then. It's just a few seconds. It's not like you got multiple downs. You ain't got 4 downs to get 10 yards. Boom, you go. So I see now how, and you already see how you were prepared for that special teams position by being ready to go at any moment.
Yeah. No,
okay.
Absolutely.
So now with that being said, what did you find to be the hardest thing about being in the NFL?
I would say the hardest thing is it's your livelihood. It's no longer, high school is fun. You go out, you play, you hang out with your friends on Friday night, you guys go eat wherever and just hang out with your friends. College, even still somewhat more of a business, but you still, you're with your best friends. You guys go to the dining hall together, you guys are in classes together, you go hang out wherever together.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to the NFL, it's business, business, business. You watch film, you train, you work out, and then you have to perform on the field because
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of people that are auditioning for jobs, and there's only a limited number of spaces for players to play. So
Yes.
I realized that you have to make your opportunities count,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's a business at the end of the day. So there's no hard feelings. Even
Mm-hmm.
if a coach likes you, it's all about the numbers. Do you fit within what they're trying to do? And are you better than the next man up on the roster? So
Now, that being said, I also read that you spent some time with the Detroit Lions as a scout, as an NFL scout.
I
With
did.
what you just said, with the combine just starting yesterday and actually on the field activities starting tomorrow, as a part of the combine, what was your focus as a scout?
So I came in really on the bottom tier. So you do a lot of what you watch a lot of film, you cut up the film based on the player's strengths and weaknesses, present that to the staff. You also do some evaluations. You may evaluate college players, see what their position fit is in the NFL, and you also might do um, professional player evaluations. You grade them, rank them, stack them by position, and compare them to the rest of the teams in the league and also on your current team as well. So there's a lot that goes into it. You coordinate workouts because you're working out players every week during the season.
Wow. Okay.
In the combine, the big focus is getting interviews with players. There's only a set number of players that you can actually interview
Mm-hmm.
at the combine formally, but there's informal interviews that happen in like the train station. And if you can imagine, it's kind of like a speed dating of
Yeah.
sorts. You're
Okay.
finding players as they're coming by and you're like, hey, the position coach wants to talk to you. Let's get you over here to meet with them. And it's a mad dash to talk to as many of those players as possible, because obviously if you're investing money into the players, you want to get as much information as possible.
Yes.
So that is a lot of what went on at the combine.
Now, in my research, I discovered that the NFL is actually having an HBCU combine. Now, this is the first year for that. Am I correct?
To my knowledge, yes. And I know they had some regional combines sometimes and that oftentimes catered towards schools who may not have a dedicated combine. But that is my first time hearing about that.
Now, how do you think that's going to differ from the regular combine? I know it's with HBCUs, but how do you think it's going to make a difference as far as the players being seen?
It's just more opportunities for exposure. The one thing about football is most of the time, you have scouts that are in every region. You hear chatter about players that are good and that are potential NFL players. So you're going to get found most of the time. And so this is just another avenue for that to happen. And it may be an opportunity for a player who may be flying under the radar to put his skills on display and for scouts to take notice. So any opportunity for more exposure for the players helps.
Now, what position did you scout for? A particular position or just for the team's needs at that particular time?
No, you normally scout a whole roster. So let's just say if you're a college scout, you may have the entire Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. You may have the Southeast, and you would evaluate every team, most of the college teams in that area, and you grade all the eligible seniors for those teams. Obviously, sometimes you focus more on big schools than small schools, but there may be a player that sticks out, and you grade that player. So you do it on every position. And then when you come back at the end of the year, after everyone's gotten all of their scouting information together, you may focus on a position group. So I may say, Josh, I want you to look at all the running backs that have a certain grade and rank them, rank them by, first to last. And so that's usually how scouting goes. Every team has their own formula on how they do things, but that's usually how it works on the college side.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you this question before I lose time and don't get to ask it.
Mm-hmm.
With the current lawsuit with Brian Flores going on, with the lack of Black coaches in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Now the NBA has 30 teams. They have 16 minority coaches. Mm-hmm. NFL got 32 teams. We got 2 Blacks and 2 minorities. Mm-hmm. If you could devise a plan, mm-hmm. what would be your plan? What would be your layout of plan to increase the number of Black head coaches? Now, let me say this before you. Tony Dungy said that he don't think any coaches should be interviewed at all until the end of the season. Mm-hmm. And Anthony Booger McFarland, mm-hmm. he said he thinks that they should do like a social event in the off season and invite about 20 of the top candidates. Mm-hmm. And they get together and talk and build relationships instead of just rushing through the process. Mm-hmm. That being said, you being a younger man, those are both much older guys. Yeah. You being a young man that has played here recently, what would be your plan?
Wow, that is a tough question. I don't know if I've thought of a full out plan. I can identify where the issues are. The few issues, just from what I am able to see, mm-hmm. is that there are not enough Black assistant coaches in higher ranking positions like coordinators and some of those positions. Okay. Because a lot of the time the NFL goes, it's off of your network, who you've coached with, who you've worked with before. Mm-hmm. Because there's a larger percentage of players versus coaches, I don't think that there's enough representation from Black coaches in the coordinator ranks to where you can get that next step up. So having more Black coordinators, I think, would be a help. Plus, I also think allowing former players, a lot of former players go back and coach. Mm-hmm. But they oftentimes have to go back to the bottom of the barrel in the coaching ranks and work their way up. And a lot of guys don't feel like going through that grind, because you have to kind of go take those steps to get to where other people have gone, instead of using that playing experience that guys have as working experience to get them on a faster track. Now, obviously, there's things you have to learn about being a coach, but there's no better teacher than having actually been in the game. So I think a better avenue of using former players as assistants and getting them on a faster track to higher ranking positions within the coaching staff is one thing I think I would like to see. And I've even thought about that just being on the scouting side too, because you have a certain knowledge of what an NFL player looks like because you've played against them before. So those are the things I think are big. I couldn't give you a full out plan just on short notice. So that's all I have for you.
Look, that's okay. That was a very good answer, because see, you came at it from a whole different perspective. I don't think I've heard any analysts actually say that. Now, the only one that said something similar to that was Randy Moss, but he was very creative with how he said it, in that they play the game for the owners. The owners know what their skills are. And in so many words, he said what you just said. Why not use us to teach the players coming up? Because we've done it for you, and we've proved to be successful in that realm for you.
Exactly.
So, there's something I meant to ask you earlier. Mm-hmm. Hermitage High School, once I was out of school, and working in the professional realm, I kept hearing about Hermitage High School. Mm-hmm. What was it the athletic director? Was it the money that they put into the athletic program? What was it? Because they created a lot of champions at Hermitage High School. And so what was it so different about their athletic program?
I think it's a tip of the cap to our head coach, Patrick Kane. He retired probably, I know, because I think Coach Kane retired probably 5 or 6 years ago, but
Okay.
during his tenure there, I mean, we had numerous Division I football athletes, and we had a lot of professional athletes that were there. And he just created a culture. He always was straightforward and blunt with us. He said his motto was play the play, so we could not
Wow.
focus on what would happen before or after. Our job was to focus on that play right there. And then we always competed and we worked hard. I know after every practice we ran sprints and we tried to win every sprint. And I think just the atmosphere of tough love,
Okay.
work ethic, and just focusing on what you could control in that play is what really transformed the program. Because I think Hermitage always had good athletes. They just never actually, that never translated to winning until he got there. So,
Okay, yeah, because every time I turned up, when it got to the states, it was always the championships. It was always Hermitage, whether it was wrestling, whether it was basketball, whatever it was Hermitage. And I was like, whoa, okay. And they're doing a new program with athletes, with African American athletes and their finances. And I see that your area of professionalism now is in the finance realm. Does the NFL offer a particular program or something to help young athletes with the management of their money?
well, they handle that in-house. Each team may be different, but every team has a player development director, and that team normally handles some type of financial fitness or financial literacy classes that they do in their rookie year. And then they also have a list of advisors that you have to be on their approved list in order to, well, you don't, it's preferred that you can use that list. And then they also have their different seminars and outlets that you can use in the off season that the NFL puts on. Like I know earlier, I think during the summertime last year, I was on a call with some other former players that are in the finance industry and players that wanted to join the webinar. We just talked about basics of finance, different type of investment vehicles that they can look into, things to watch out for an advisor. So there are tools that are available. I think there's still room for improvement,
Okay.
as with anything, but they have done a better job of trying to engage athletes on that level just to make sure that they are taking care of their finances.
I will say this. Years ago, I applied for a position with the NBA. They
Mhm.
offered something sort of like, and I won't call it a teen mom, but my social work background, I was going to use that to help sort of foster the young men coming in and teach them social skills and things of that nature. And I didn't see anything in the NFL per se in that realm, but I did notice the NBA. And then we're talking about the disparities as far as the head coaching things with the NBA. I think the NBA got some good things going on, and I think the NFL might need to catch up on some things.
It's a little bit harder though, because I mean, in the NFL, you got 60 something players, and in the NBA, you got 15.
Okay.
Uh, so you
Per
do have to
team, you
scale
saying?
that. So, huh?
You saying per team?
Yeah, per team. So, the
Okay.
NBA, I think it's 15 player roster. Where the NFL, if they're 53-man roster, I think maybe more than that, maybe 54, 55 plus 10 practice squad players, I think. So you got
Okay.
a lot. You got a larger roster.
Okay.
You have They don't make as much money as NBA players do, for sure.
Okay.
And so it's a little more challenging to get some of those same resources, but I do think there can be more. And I think the NFL has recognized that, and they've tried to improve those resources around the team and the players. So,
Okay. Well, I hope that they get catch up a little bit, catch up. I hope that all of their social justice efforts are sincere.
mhm.
Some of them do seem sincere. I do have on my sports page, I do have some information on the Walter Payton Man of the Year. And I'm telling you to look at the stories of those young men and what they do. Oh my gosh, that's one of the things that I like about this part of the journalism part of it, actually hearing what goes on in the hearts and the minds of the players. Because we see the game on Sunday and all you see is those guys going at it. But I think this is what really makes a good team, the player that comes to the field with a heart and a head fit to actually be a teammate and be a good citizen as well. I think all of those things together really make for a good football player and a good football team. So I really want to thank you for this opportunity. You have definitely have that Watson flavor, feeling, that calmness, that genuine kindness. You know, I'm just honored to actually have this opportunity to interview the child of one of my childhood friends. Look at God. What can you say? So, and the fact that you played my favorite sport, which is the NFL, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, Josh. I do want to stay in touch with you. I have some things I want to ask you, but I will not ask you on this interview.
Good.
I do. Did you want to mention your business? Did you want to get a free shout out? Did you want to say anything about what you're currently doing? Is there any? I do say this. I offer all of my guests an opportunity to say whatever you want to say to my subscribers and to whomever may watch this video. It's your time.
Anything. Well, my only thing that, and I don't know whether you'll scrub this or not, but my only thing is that the reason for any success that I have is not because of, yes, I was given an ability, I had to work it and develop it, but the real reason for any of my success is my relationship with Jesus Christ. That's the center of everything that I do, center of my marriage, center of how I raise my kids. And so that is the number one thing that I would tell anybody. And then other than that, just if anybody is, looking to pursue things or accomplish whatever they're looking to accomplish in life, aside from keeping him at the center, work at it, develop it, and do your absolute best with whatever you're given, and don't give up. So that's what I would say.
And you know what? Now I really am understanding why God gave me this platform. Do you know every interview that I end or that I've had thus far, that has been the premise of the heart or the focus, or should I say the character of the interviewee. And I really honor you for honoring God. I thank God for this opportunity, as I said. And I really want to thank you so much, Josh, for taking a few minutes out of your busy day to answer my questions. And I just appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks, Nat. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Sports Chat with Nat fans. This has been Josh Vaughan. If you haven't already, you need to push that button and subscribe. I told y'all, I'm going to bring you interviews with people that got something to say. Listen, come on, people. Jerome and I are waiting on you. Subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. Josh Vaughan. Yay! Bye, Josh. Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
You too.